business owner? Entrepreneur? Want to learn how online marketing can improve your business?
Your questions.
Our advice.
This is Not a Real Job.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 104 of Not a Real Job. I am Chris Van Patten, and I'm flying solo this week, or sort of solo. I've got Milo here, my new kitty. You want to say hi, Milo? No, he doesn't want to say hi. Anyway, it's just me this week. Joel is off moving, or at least he just finished his move, but doesn't have internet yet. So this week, it's me solo, which means it's going to be a quick episode because the room that I'm recording in is hot as heck here in New York, and I don't have all that much to talk about. Anyway, I thought I'd just give a brief update on where we're at with Firsthand. If you've been listening the past couple of weeks, I think you've noticed that we're going to be talking about Firsthand a little more than some of our projects in the past, just because we're kind of excited about it. But before I get into all of that, what am I drinking? For those who are curious, I'm drinking the Curious Traveler Lemon Shandy, which is a wonderful lemon and slightly lime-ish shandy. It's been my beer of the summer. I love it. And if you can find it still, I highly recommend it. It looks like we're getting out of shandy season and into Oktoberfest season, though. So get it while you can. Anyway, so Firsthand, basically, we have the development largely finished, or at least at a stable point where it all kind of works. What we are working on now are from a development perspective, we're trying to get SMS support built in, so you can actually text us your questions instead of just email. I'm really excited about that. It's coming together a little slowly than I would have liked, but still working on it. And then we're also working on some analytics integrations in our privacy policy, which you can check out on the actual website, askfirsthand.com. Then scroll down to the footer, and you'll see the link in there. We sort of made a point of not collecting, superfluous data. We don't want to be one of those websites that has, like 20 different tracking codes that it loads for all these different services. So our privacy policy is pretty straight to the point that, we try really hard not to collect more data than necessary. That said, there's still some data we need to collect, and we're going to try to do it on a basis, on the server side basis without messy JavaScript code as much as possible. So I've been working a little bit on getting that set up so we can get information about, who's buying what and also, without compromising too much of the user's privacy. From a marketing side, we talked a little bit last week about the marketing plan that Joel put together or is in the process of putting together. We're really excited about that. We've got some cool partnerships that we're going to be working on putting together over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully those will be a big part of the strategy. I've also been doing some research and some, reading myself on developing some aspects of our marketing plan, such as guest blogging, guest appearances on podcasts and that kind of thing. That's something we're really interested in, or I'm certainly interested in, is, how can we get in front of new audiences? Because, we have our audience, if you're listening to the show, you are part of that audience. But I'm also interested in sort of finding ways that I can branch out, that we can get one of us or both of us blogging or appearing in other shows or, just talking about the product in front of different groups of people. So I'm really excited about that opportunity as well. Now, that said, we are, we're still a couple weeks out probably from a launch. I'd say maybe a month out, just because we're sort of putting our marketing ducks in a row together. So we are, sort of talking about that and kind of getting it moving. It's going a little slower than I think either of us would like. But of course, as you hear us say again and again, we're both crazy busy. Sorry, I just hear my cat making noise now. We'll be sure to put a picture of him in the show notes. So definitely go to the website to see that. Anyway, now with that all said, that little status update for Firsthand, I'm going to cut now to an episode. And I hope this is an episode that we haven't repeated before. I don't think it is. But if it is, I'm sorry in advance. Maybe I'll go back and re-record this if I find out that we did repeat it. Anyway, this is episode 43 of Not a Real Job called It's a Wasteland. And we talked a little bit in this episode about writing proposals and then also e-commerce marketing tips. And for those, the big tip was really, if you're not selling things, then your marketing is failing, which is something that I think we still both believe. Certainly there are exceptions to the rules, as there always are. But I think in general, if you're not making sales, your marketing is ineffective, which is why we're so focused on figuring out good ways to collect sales data, again, without compromising privacy and things like that. So we'll cut to that episode, and then I'll come back, give you some Amazon recommendations and the latest on the housekeeping stuff. So I will talk to you in a moment.
All right. Are you reading this question or am I?
I will read it.
All right. Not? How about I read it at the same time?
How about not?
Okay, okay.
This is from Ryan, who tells us that he is a Mabim Bam lover who found us through them, so it keeps paying dividends. And his question is this. I am in discussion with a private capital group regarding one of their business lines that has no full-time employees, but is serviced by the COO of the parent company when things arise. So it's kind of a business that is on autopilot, based on what I can tell here.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in coming on board as an individual fully focused on this business line, trying to convince them that they should hire somebody to focus on it and that it should be him. Given that this business line has a website, Facebook, Twitter, what else should he tell them his marketing and social media plan would be for this one-man company if they were to bring him on? It's a very niche market. And aside from Google Analytics, focusing attention on SEO, advertising, going to conventions, and increasing their Facebook, Twitter posts, I don't know what I would do. Any tips?
Well, unfortunately, Ryan hasn't given us enough information for, I think, us to come up with a strategy. But my approach to winning this business would be, it's pretty standard kind of business practices for this sort of thing, but kind of including basic recommendations without doing a bunch of spec work, but basic recommendations in demonstration of your expertise and knowledge in your proposal to start doing the marketing for this business line. So you present to them, here's my proposal. This is why you should hire me, which is, your past experience, your basic recommendations, your approach to how you would handle this, and then whatever price tag you're looking for. So I think that's kind of step one, is making sure you're positioning everything not as here are a bunch of recommendations and you should hire me, but here is my proposal to begin working with you, which just seems more credible than someone desperately kind of throwing out ideas and hoping that they'll get paid for them eventually. If you do all the work for them and just hand it over, hoping that they'll hire you, they won't, because why would they?
Yeah, I think you need to sort of come up with a general, I don't know, maybe 6 months of just very overarching themes of what you would do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you sort of alluded to this. Don't be too specific. Otherwise, it is spec work and you're giving away concrete ideas for free, which you certainly don't want to do. The one thing I would say, I think you have a very good outline of ideas here, getting Google Analytics and focusing on SEO improvements, advertising, conventions. That's all great. And I think you should definitely start there, because I think these are all concrete things that you can more easily gauge the success or failure of, right? So Twitter and Facebook are great, but I think it's even better that you have some of these more concrete either real world things or things that are directly tied to measurable results included in your plan. In terms of just purely social media, I think increasing those posts is a great way to start. But if it's depending on what the niche is, I think you could do, I think I saw a post today in a forum, and I won't go into too much detail, but the basic idea was that within a year, if you're putting in active effort on creating blog posts, white papers, lead magnets, and things like that, you should be able to own your niche if it's specific enough within a year. So maybe that's a way to start. Say over a year, we're going to create this blog. We're going to start putting stuff up on it. We're going to create these landing pages to get email leads. Because I think all of that stuff is much more measurable. And also it lasts longer than a Twitter or Facebook post, right? A week after you've posted something to Twitter or something to Facebook, with very rare exceptions, after that week, that post is basically useless, right? With a blog post, if you're telling them that you're putting your effort into investing in blog posts and investing in writers, that stuff, if you do it right, is evergreen. So you're going to get benefits and results from that content for a much longer time. And to the business, it's going to look like a better investment because it's not like they have to constantly be, have somebody manning the Twitter and manning the Facebook. They can sort of focus on getting really high quality content weekly out to a blog and then doing some auxiliary things on the side to get people to that content.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you also included like a really good point here about how you can be positioning why you're going to be doing these things as well. So you've got all these tactics, but we need to pull that back and show that those tactics are a demonstration of a strategy. So instead of saying you're going to increase their Twitter, Facebook posts, you say we're going to carve out a niche for this business line. We're going to demonstrate that we are the known experts in this field, and we're going to do that by creating or building our social media profiles with high engagement and huge referrals back to the website. And we'll do that by increasing the number of posts we have, increasing our use of images, increasing our use of links back to the website. Instead of saying we're going to go to conventions, we're going to say we're going to demonstrate that we're the experts in this field. We'll do that by having the most well-attended booth at this XYZ conference. And we'll do that by leveraging these partnerships, doing this sort of advertising.
Work backward to tactics.
Yeah.
Tactics should sort of be the last thing you mentioned. You need to start by explaining what the point of all of this is.
Yeah. How does this actually influence our business goals? Not just how does this make us look better?
Yeah. And I may be assuming too much and maybe reading between the lines, but it sounds like this is something that is a B2B business. So I think definitely honing in on that really and figuring out what are the best ways that we can connect with other businesses, because Facebook and Twitter may not be right at the start anyway. You may not want to put a ton of time into Twitter and Facebook when you could be spending more time creating these lead magnets, creating blog posts, and all that kind of stuff, which might be better suited to your marketplace. So I guess part of that is do a little bit of market research. If you have a couple of existing clients that you can talk to and see, how are you guys doing your research? How are you finding suppliers? And reach out to them and do what they tell you. Be where they think you should be or where they are.
Totally. So hopefully that helps, Ryan. As always, we'd love to hear your follow-up on this. Let us know if there's anything else you need. And if you can give us a little bit more info, please do. So I think we got time for one more question. Yeah, we do.
Sure.
This one's from, what do you think, Manuel? Am I pronouncing that?
Yes.
Maybe? Okay. So Manuel says, hey guys, I'm finally caught up. Aw, this is sweet. I'm finally caught up with Not a Real Job. No, loving the show. He suggests that perhaps we do shows that are a bit longer since he can't just binge listen to several episodes at a time anymore since he's caught up. Well, good news. Our book club episode that came out last week was quite a bit longer, and we'll be doing those every once in a while. So at least that gives you something that is a little bit longer. So now to my question. I recently started working in marketing and currently working at a fairly large Central and South American e-commerce site on their display channel. I know blah, 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 blah. It's not exactly our expertise, but one asks general tips. My team is fairly small and I feel like I could make an impact, but I struggle to see the big picture and would like to know more about strategy or really anything that could help me. Book recommendations, apps, whatever else you can think of. They use, and he makes note that they use all Google products for our marketing. So I'm not sure I exactly understand what he's asking.
I think he's asking for tips to get better at e-commerce marketing, which I think is actually pretty simple, right? So there are tons of strategies out there, and I don't think we're going to get too specific into suggesting strategies. But at the end of the day, the bigger picture that you mentioned, you have a hard time seeing the bigger picture. All the bigger picture is sales in e-commerce. That's literally all you need to worry about. Mm-hmm. If you're selling things, if your marketing is causing things to be sold, then it's working. If not, it's not working. I don't want to simplify it too much, but I think that's really the essence of what you need to be thinking about.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, a lot of that really comes down to making sure that you can track that. Some of my general advice, this is actually one of the things that I said during one of my seminars the other week. Was that right now? Like, are you able to track where sales are coming from? Do you know, when someone makes a purchase, how they found out about you, what the sales funnel and sales process looks like? If you don't, then you don't have, an e-commerce problem. You have a measurement, analytics, and accounting problem. That's what you need to solve first. Yeah. So that would be it. You can't create more sales, or it's very difficult to create more sales without knowing where your existing sales are coming from. You need to know who your heavy users are and how you can get more of those.
Yeah, so I would absolutely start there. If you don't have analytics set up, get it set up and get the e-commerce tracking set up, because it's really cool, and you can see within Google Analytics how many sales you're getting, and you can track people through the sales funnel. I think once you've done that, your next step is to figure out how you can, as a marketer, either get your web team to simplify that funnel, or how you can inject people further along into the funnel. And what I mean by that is that how can you in your marketing circumvent either the browsing process, or I guess how can you propel people through that funnel faster via marketing? And that might be a weekly newsletter where you suggest recommended products, or that could be reaching out to your high volume customers and asking them how you can improve their process. It's not strictly marketing, but I think having an understanding of the e-commerce side of the business will give you a big leg up in terms of getting all of that marketing going.
Mm-hmm. I would also make sure that you have a good understanding of how, and sorry, Chris, you may have already touched on this, but how the business works in general, how much they pay for leads, how much they're willing to pay to acquire a new customer, everything like that can kind of give you some input on how much you should be paying working on the marketing side, to capture a lead and to get, a new customer and acquisition. And depending on the business,
They may not have thought of those questions, right?
Yeah.
They may not have a concrete number of how much they want to spend per person, for acquiring a lead. So it may be part of your job now to figure out what that number should be and suggest, I think we should be spending $5 a lead. And I think we can use that $5 on Facebook ads or AdSense or whatever the case is. Figuring out what the actual numbers are. What are the actual usable stats?
Cool. Well, do we have any books or apps that we can recommend? I don't know if I've read any books recently that are useful.
Yeah, no, I haven't. Nothing directly applicable anyway, but I would really start, if you haven't already, try to read as much as you can about Google Analytics and their e-commerce tracking and that kind of stuff, and spend a lot of time in there, because it may not seem like it's strictly applicable to marketing, but I think, one, the definition of marketing is changing, and it is starting to include some of that conversion optimization stuff. And two, it's going to just give you an overall better sense of the business, right? Because if you find out that product X is really, huge, you can probably build a campaign around that. So really understanding the stats and the numbers as best you can.
Yeah. And actually one book that I will suggest, I haven't read it yet since it's not out yet, but I'm very excited to grab it on June 6th when it is out, is Nicely Said, Writing for the Web with Style and Purpose. So if you're working on e-commerce, your style of writing for your marketing is going to be important. Anyway, the book's gotten incredible reviews so far. You can check it out at just nicelysaid.co. But it gives you, the topics are like writing marketing copy, interface flows, blog posts, behind the scenes documents like mission statements, survey questions, and project briefs. Helps you find your voice, build trust and foster relationships, and make a simple style guide. So really practical stuff. It looks like it's going to be a great book. So if you're looking for a book to help with your marketing writing, I would suggest nicelysaid.co. So check that out.
Cool. Well, that sounds like the end of an episode.
It does. I would like maybe next episode, Chris, so we can solicit some advice and questions. I want us to dedicate, maybe if it's not the next, but one soon, about just how we can, it's been several months since we've done this, how we can market Not a Real Job more. So I don't know. I'd like people to give their advice. How do we get more listeners? We can give just a brief update again on what we've done in the past, and maybe people can give us some of their thoughts on how we can get more listeners.
Yeah, and also being that it is now June as of literally today, we will be having our monthly report coming out on the show soon, or on the show website rather. So look for that. That will be at notarealjob.com/June2014, probably this week. So, we always recommend checking the numbers, and that's probably a great way to check those out for yourself if you think you have an idea. I also don't know if we ever mentioned it on the show, but the May numbers are up as well. notarealjob.com/May2014, predictably.
Nice. Yeah, so check those out, everyone. Again, I guess that's our general piece of advice. You're not going to improve anything if you're not measuring it. So that's why we make these reports, so we can see how we can be doing better. And we want you guys to see that as well, so we can all be holding each other accountable. So check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Welcome back to episode 104. I hope you had a fun trip to episode 43. Thanks for sticking around, especially if you did already hear that episode. Hopefully it was still useful to you. All right. So as you know, every week we pick Amazon products, or products that Amazon or their affiliates stock. And these are products that you can go to look for, buy these products from our links over at notarealjob.com/gear or notarealjob.com/episode 104. So these are things that we've bought that we think you should buy too, because we think you'll like them. And of course, if you do buy through those links, we get a small cut, which is greatly appreciated. So this week, I am going to put in the Apple 45 watt, I believe it is, MacBook charger. This is the MagSafe 2 power adapter, mainly for the MacBook Air. I just recently had my MacBook Air charger start to split apart up at the edge by the plug itself. Needed a new one, of course. Of course, my old one has gone with me around the world to Spain and wherever. So it was about time to replace it anyway. I think it was about 2 years old or so. So the MagSafe 2 power adapter, if you have a MacBook Air, this is the one to get. Highly recommended that you buy the real Apple one and not, the fake nonsense. All right. Anyway, this has been another episode of Not a Real Job. You can find us all over the internets at twitter.com/NargCast. Joel and I are both on Twitter as well. Twitter.com/Joel Kelly or /Chris Van Patten. Firsthand, if you're interested, is over at Go Firsthand on Twitter. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/notarealjob, also facebook.com/askfirsthand. And you can also find us on Stitcher and iTunes. We're at notarealjob.com/Stitcher or notarealjob.com/iTunes. Both of those links are going to redirect you to the right place. So you can subscribe to the show, leave your ratings and reviews, which we really appreciate, and all that other stuff. Thanks again for listening to Not a Real Job, and we will talk to you soon.